Hiya guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to a modern magazine thing. Because this time I'm going to be looking at Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer issue number 37. Now I often have tales of how I found this in my local shop, and it was hiding behind Thomas the Tank Engine, or there were other role-playing magazines. I have no tales like that this week. I walked in, it was on the shelf, and they've actually got a shelf labelled for Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer. So they obviously intend to keep getting copies in, even though they seem to just get a single issue in. And I'm fighting against other people to get that issue off the shelf as quickly as possible. Now, I've been asked in the comments why I don't go in and ask the manager why they're getting this single copy in and why they've started getting other tabletop gaming magazines in. Magazines which do feature some role-playing but mainly wargaming. But I have a plan. You see, my youngest son Adam, who's appeared in a few of these videos, has actually applied for a job in that shop. And they interviewed him. And they are going through the security checks and background checks that they want before they give him a start date. But they have promised to give him a start date. So I'm going to have my inside man to feed me information about why these are being ordered and when I can get copies. We'll see how that works out. Anyway, enough of the waffling, and let's have a look at Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer issue number 37. So, this is Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer issue number 37. Now let's chuck the bag out of the way as usual, as it's reflective and crinkly and gets in the way and makes noise. Now, inside this issue, well, or with this issue, oh dear, we've got some of the flat printed miniatures. Now, in the past I've managed to avoid all of the issues with these. I deliberately didn't go for the early ones, which had these. And luckily the ones I've picked up since then have had nice metal dice and tin dice and all that. This time we have some flat printed miniatures. Now, first of all, it's for the Tiefling Warlock and Halfling Monk. But also we have a gelatinous cube. And that's where this disappoints me even more, because you cannot see through these. They're printed out. And I so thought that the gelatinous cube, when I first spotted it, was going to be a thing which they'd given some thought to. If you made it transparent and added a second slot on the base, you can just see the single slot there, then when one of the characters or something got caught up in the gelatinous cube, you could take them off their base, slot them in behind, and be able to see them through the gelatinous cube as if they were within it. That would have been quite a cool thing. But they've not done that. They've just printed these out. They seem to be stuck together with some cellophane on the back. But they just poke out and attach to their bases. There's not much to them. Now, I'm amused by the bag here. I'll hold it up in front of the card. Not for resale. Because yes, everybody's going to rush out to sell 10 pennies worth of plastic. It's really not great. Again, the cover price of these things, $8.99. That means this magazine has to be absolutely brilliant. And it's not bad, actually. Inside, we've got the contents page. Really not sure of the use they put to these, because they are just going to get thrown out if you're compiling all of these into binders. But we've got information on general feats, part 3 of it. Characters who reach 4th level can increase their good fortune, tap into dark magic, or move things with their mind. So we've got lucky, telekinetic, cause fear, ray of sickness, they're shadow touch, and they get access to those spells. Now, this is part of a realization with me of something we'll come to in a bit. But anyway, we've got the monk, the way of the open hand. Talking about them, their benefits at higher levels, role-playing them, their inspirations. I find it amusing that a monk of the open hand here is holding a staff. Couldn't they have found better artwork? Monk features, 4th level. We go through those. Ability score improvement, moving with a purpose, hit points and healing. Then we've got the same for the warlock. Now this issue is focusing on these two because they're going to be the ones we get the character sheets for. And of course we got the flat miniatures for them. Warlock, 4th level, they've got ability score improvement, they're shadow touched, and not as much information on the Warlock at all. The Underdark, Part 2, Travelling in the Underdark. Now this I really like, Basically, we've got an Underdark encounter table here, roll a d6, and then we've got slightly fleshed out encounters. There's a gap in the path. The tunnel here is collapsed, leaving a 15-foot wide gap that drops 20 feet. Gaseous fungi, webs, singing crystals, black moss. There's a waterfall. Now, these are really nice little encounters you could drop into people travelling. And that's brilliant for Games Masters. Give them something they can drop in, and the players having to find a way of getting around these could flesh out an entire session. We've also got the fungi of Faerun here. Detailing out edible fungi, different types, bluecap, ripplebark, trillimac, zirkwood. We've got exotic fungi, shriekers, timasks, tongue of madness, torchstalk. We've got aggressive fungi, brown mold, violet funguses. I was going to say violent. Yellow molds. And then we've got the xorn as a monster this issue. This is the one we're getting introduced to this issue. Meet a bizarre burrowing denizen of the plane of Earth, the gem-eating xorn. Giving some information about them, gems and minerals being their diet, their features. And then we've got the encounter. And again, this is a brilliant encounter. This could be dropped in anywhere. This is a real encounter. It's not part of a longer adventure. It has no real hooks, although there's some information you could get out of this which leads on to later parts of Adventure 4. But basically, the players are travelling through the Underdark, and they encounter a xorn. Now, if they understand it, they can find out that it's complaining that a portal it came through from its plane has closed. And it needs somebody to try and figure out how to reactivate this portal so it can leave. So, if they're willing to help this creature, they've got a small quest. The chamber has a number of crystals which need properly located to activate the portal to send it back. But there's a lot of information, the illusory stone wall, the portal chamber itself. Opening the portal, it explains how that goes. Puzzle hints to help them out. And ending the encounter. The xorn will suggest that the players should not follow it, as the plane it's going to will be incredibly hostile. It also doesn't lead to where they're going further on their quest, but it can give them a shortcut, so they get something out of it. Plus, we've got various items they can pick up here, the Rope of Entanglement, Wand of the War Mage, and then we've got the stat block for the xorn. Now, then the last couple of pages are character sheets. They're much thicker card, rather than just the glossy pages of the magazine. This is card. And it's for Agnes Quickwillow, a halfling monk. Of course, we got the halfling monk flat miniature. And Zella, the variant tiefling warlock. Now, something I realised, it goes into all the things about, you get attribute points to spend. Of course, in Dungeons & Dragons, when you get attribute points to spend, you can buy feats instead. Except, this is a pre-printed character sheet for a 4th level character. So, all the selections are made for you. You get no choice when playing these characters. They are like this all along. And that takes away part of the joy of Dungeons & Dragons. That you get to choose how your character develops. The things that you're using, you get to increase. You find out that your character needs to be more stealthy, so you're increasing your dexterity. You're buying feats which will help you do that based on the magical items to take best advantage of them. This takes all that away, and you're just using a preset character that they've decided where all the points are spent. Very disappointed. Magazine itself, definitely not worth $8.99, but a couple of really nice things in there. So that was Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer issue number 37. Now, one thing I didn't mention is how much I actually like the cover. It's really brightly coloured. So many of the other covers are set in caverns and dungeons and things, are very dark. But I like the brightness of this one. This really catches the eye. I like it a lot. But the rest of it, not so great. Those plastic miniatures, the flat miniatures, are very, very cheap. and not a whole load of use if you're creating your own characters for things, only if you're using those characters. And as I indicate in the video, I thought there was a better way of using them by creating the gelatinous cube in a way that you could absorb other miniatures into it. But apparently the creators never thought of that. Otherwise, there's a couple of good articles in it. It's a solid adventure this week, and I like the section on the Underdark. But it's a very thin magazine for £9. It's a lot of money for some flat miniatures and a very thin magazine. So it's very disappointing. But as I indicated at the start of the video, I've got a chance of picking up lots more issues of this in the future. But I really struggle that I don't really want to spend that much on every issue. While it's there and it's an impulse buy, I mean, I'm impulsive enough to buy it. But to actually go in and have it week after week after week, especially when the freebies on the cover aren't that great, doesn't interest me. But we shall see how things happen. But anyway, I've been waffling on for quite long enough as usual, so thank you very much for watching. But as always, most of all, you look after yourselves. And I'll catch you later. Bye now.